Welcome back, Mighty Mighty Souls. My name is Stephen Koss. This is Initiation Journey to the Origin of the Universe. Matias de Stefano, as referred to him, MDS, going forward. And this is episode 5, Transcending through the Fifth Dimension. And being able to understand the fifth dimension, you have to understand the 5 statements of the universe through love, wisdom, will, evolution, and creation. And we'll use those to help define creation going forward and understanding things in our own 3D and from the fifth dimension of where we want to get to. This is going to be a little bit of a more complicated episode. It's newer material that I haven't come across super often. So again, just bear with me. So we have we start off with our 3 statements of the universe, because these 3 will equal evolution. So we're going to start with them as the basis, and then we'll go back to evolution and co-creation. But these are 3 different tools, right? That consciousness can use to see different perspectives of self. So they're able to see the different perspectives of self, so then they will understand the process, which is the main goal, right? So once you use these 3 tools of love, wisdom, and will to see different perspectives of self, to understand the process, then you will jump to number 4, which is evolution. Which will then take you on to the main goal of co-creation. If you remember in the Trinity when we were talking about, you start here, you go here, you get here, but you're coming back here to co-creation. You're a creation, now you're able to co-create. But these 5 statements of love, wisdom, will, evolution, and co-creation, they equal the fifth dimension, which is looking down, seeing all of space and time simultaneously happening, holding it together. So let's talk about the fifth dimension real quick. Some people will say, in the fifth dimension, it's higher beings. Let's use just Christianity for an example, and you talk about angelic beings, and you had a message you received, or had a miracle happen to you, and you look at this fifth dimension as, we'll say angels or masters or guides, right? And it's funny because we look to them and are like, well, which path is the right way? There's 2 roads. There's a fork in the road, and I should go left or should I go right? We look to these guides, masters, angels to help push it. Why do we ask them for help, or we send out prayers? Because, how can I draw this right? Up here's the 5th, looking over all this stuff, right? And you would look up to here and see people at the 5th dimension looking down at us in the 3rd and go, well, they're better than us. They're more evolved than us. They're smarter than us. This was very eye-opening to me. This is as MBS pointed out, he's like, this is a total misconception. He's like, go back to unity and think, the I am, the universal mind, God, source explodes. What can I become in all these different dimensions? So no one is ever greater than anybody else. They're just seeing it from a different perspective. From the top, looking down at the house. I was thinking this in my head. I played video games my whole life. And there was a game, maybe it was like 92, 93, at Jogga Lake. It doesn't exist anymore. But anyway, it was a Sega game, and you played over it. It was an oval shaped, maybe about 5 feet, but it projected holograms. And you were able to look down on these holograms, and you could see the whole picture playing out. Now, in the fifth dimension, you're basically looking at that same hologram, but you're able to see throughout time and space and everything. But the thing that blew me away on the fifth dimension is you're looking at them as angels, masters, and guides. You're in 3D and duality, and these people, they only have one feeling, which is just unconditional love. So they don't know how it feels when you get fired, how it feels to fall in love, how it feels to say, hey man, I was thinking of you. So these angelic being masters and guides grow through us in the third dimension because they can't experience these other emotions. They can only experience this unconditional love emotion. So we're actually helping them grow. Even though they've already attained, the 5 statements, they got the number 4 evolution, and they went on to co-create, and that's what they're looking on right now. But still, they're in this 5th dimensional state, and they can't feel here on the earth plane these different emotions, because they're just at this one of all emotions in one, where you're just good. You're always just, you feel everything, but, in this duality that we live in. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, So I thought that was just an amazing thing that we're actually helping these people who we look to as ascended masters and angels and just angelic beings, just better than us, more evolved. But then having that thought go, Stephen, we're exactly the same. We all come from Source, Big Bang, God. They're no better. They're learning through us. Wow, that's... So let's go through the statements, see if we can get a good understanding of the 5 statements that make up the 5th dimension. Number 1 is love. Which is equal to eternity. It's the main vibration of the universe. Now that's an interesting thing, isn't it? It's the main vibration of the universe. Basically, if you think about it, all emotion hierarchy starts right here at love, right at the top, and moves down. So let's say hate. A lot of people will say, oh, the opposite of love is hate. Just like saying the opposite of light is dark. This is incorrect on that. When you look at love as being the main vibration and the be-all of emotions, the only reason you feel hate is because you aren't loved. And all these different emotions you feel throughout the day, whether, let's say this is the middle of neutrality, whether they're down here, up here, or they're just different vibrations of love. Now that's an interesting concept. I mean, most of us have all been in a relationship, felt in love, and if you haven't, I'm sorry I would find you. But you know how that, you're just floating and nothing can bother you, and you're just vibrating on desire. But everything else, you're broke up, you're down, you're going to work, and you're not winning that thought battle, and you're living down here, and it's just a low vibration of what you're missing. Because the only reason you're down there is because you aren't loved like you once were. Okay, let's see if I can. Okay, now when you're in the fifth dimension, you have unconditional love, right? We were just explaining that. You don't feel like Stephen Koss can feel now and express in this video, because I don't know, I'm not in the fifth dimension. I can tell you what love is to me right now. Unconditional love, like we were talking about, I think in the first video, it's like, well, you first have to have a condition to have unconditional love. And in the fifth dimension, there's no conditions. There's just that all emotion, main vibration, boom, and that's it. That's all that's there. That's why they need to create the self I am, what can I become, and live it out through the third, so they can feel those different perspectives and understand. But, like, okay, you have that fifth dimensional love of being unconditional, right? So it's not even, we can't even understand what that means, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know how to explain unconditional love in the fifth dimension. I guess you're just all good and you're putting your feet up and everything's just cruising like it was cruising, like you knew for certainty, or, well, I shouldn't use that term, but it's hard to describe that feeling, right? But in our 3D, we experience judgment. Here, I'll throw Planet Fitness out of the bus here. Worked there for a little bit in Palm Harbor. No judgment zone, judgment-free zone. Let me tell you this, everybody's judging in the gym, at the gas station. At certain times, you're being judgmental. It's just part of the 3D that we've picked up over the years, and we don't understand that when we see other people, they're just different perspectives of who the I am can become. So they are you through a different perspective, a different parallel reality. So our judgment in the 3D doesn't let us see the whole, right? We can't look down on that Sega holographic video game and be like, I see Steven right down here. You know what he's not doing right now that he needs to do? Through us, we're reading through this judgment, through this duality thing again, going into survival mode and just seeing them instead of seeing me. So once we're able to, in the fifth dimension, like once we're able to see the whole process and get that the main goal is the process, then we're able to take to number 2, to wisdom. And this is very interesting. This is very eye-opening to me today. He's like, wisdom, MDS is like, wisdom does not equal knowledge. Because that's kind of what I associated it with in the beginning. But he's like, you're not wise because you know a bunch of stuff. He's like, it's all about understanding, right? That's like understanding the truth, feeling it. Not like, I need to know X, Y, and Z so I can get here, and I know a bunch of stuff. I know more than you. I'm judging you that you're not here where I need to be. Now, he's like, the universe doesn't give a shit if you collected a bunch of stuff on your way and wisdom and knowledge, and you put a bunch of stuff together and you got stuff. It's like, it's concerned. It's like, did you get it? Did you learn the lesson? Did you understand it? It's like yeah, wisdom is understanding. Through feeling. And knowledge is just putting together stuff. To understand. So that's interesting. Just on the top of my head here, I was just thinking like, science is knowledge, right? You're putting everything together using the scientific method, discovering if this experiment proves true to your theory, blah, blah, blah. You're putting stuff together in the physical. Wisdom, I've been there already. I understand that. And there's no need to tell you that you need to do X, Y, and Z and put this stuff together to get an A on your paper. There's me going to ask you a question and saying, you think you're on the right path? How do you feel about that? And this, I think I'll get to this further, but for me, this is a very, because one, I'm a Libra and I'm an empath, and I can see different viewpoints of people. I've been in sales majority of my life, and I can read people, and I want to close them, and I want to make them see from a different perspective. It's funny, you know, how to see the light, to make the sale, to make the close. At the gym, it was like people come in for a 2-week free pass, and it's like, listen here, guy, you didn't come here for a 2-week free pass, and it ain't my job to tell you to exercise. You know you should. So my job is to make it affordable, and I've done that. But instead of me doing that and going blah, 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 and killing your profile and, you know, whatever excuse you got, I've already got on the profile, and I'll say, well, in your own words, you said this. I've already killed that. But I don't need to do that once I understand that wisdom comes from feeling and knowing, as opposed to putting things together. And I'll just go, I'm there, I understand this already, but I can't just tell you X, Y, and Z. I gotta ask you, I gotta probe you so you understand and you actually see the light. You know, because a lot of things can be told to people, but as I was told at a multi-level marketing seminar, he's like, 95% of you will understand this material and, you know, it's easy to comprehend and you go make money. But the thing is, only 5% of you will actually go out and do it. The knowledge works good in the 3D. Like I said, you put stuff together, you put it through a scientific method, you test the theory out, and you find out if it's holds water or it does not. So, let's see, let's go back here. Okay, this is interesting. This is kind of hard to explain too, and I don't know if I understand it completely. So if I don't do it well, you can comment and tell me, I don't understand that part. In the 5th dimension, truth is all one, right? This almost goes back to unity. Like, we understand it's all connected and it's all one. But in the 5 statements, wisdom actually allows us doubt. It allows uncertainty. Because we're not telling people to go, you know, to get to Tampa from here, Stephen, you take 77 south, down to 26, over to 95, down to 10, blah, blah, cut over on 310, go down 75. We're not doing that. Not in the 5th dimension. We're using wisdom, and we're asking those questions, and we're showing, we can see everything from the 5th dimension, looking down on the 3rd, and you're saying, you need to go here. You're saying, no, let me allow a little doubt in there. Let me allow a little uncertainty, because I'm only at one emotion at the 5th dimension, right? I'm at the very top of unconditional love. And I'm trying to understand my creation through the 3D with wisdom. hope that makes sense. Okay, that's cool. He was going, MDS was going back into being like, living like a kid. And being surprised, like when you see something, like you just look at it for the first time. This is something I read in the Deepak Chakra book when I was talking about Merlin and Arthur. Great book. And he's like, Merlin is staring at a tree, you know, all afternoon. I was like, what gives? And he's like, you just look at a tree like, whatever, it's a tree. He's like, I look at it like I've never seen it. And I see it for the first time as a child. To have that excitement of the unknown, to experience things for the first time, and the beauty and the rarity of it, and understand it. So in the fifth dimension, it's just you want to live like a kid, like you want to live like a kid and feel it, right? Here I can remember some stupid things from your childhood, but I remember getting picked up from like kindergarten. Mom's like, all right, it's Friday night, pizza night, movie night, you know, we run a couple new releases, get a couple pizzas. I'm like, this is the best night ever. Because you experience something that you haven't had, and just the simplicity of something so easy as, geez, looking at, you know, at 40 right now, and if I was that age and going, geez, that's all it takes, just a movie and a pizza. Boy, they're pretty amazing. But as the kids, it helps us leave out the judgment, right? If we're just feeling, we're not living in that 3D so much. We're living up here. We're not, by the time we get down here and we're adults, we've been conditioned to know our place, right? We've heard all our lives growing up in America, you can be anything you want to be, even President of the United States. And then as you go through and you get conditioned and beat down by the environment of society, you start to know your role and you forget how awesome it feels to be free as a kid without judgment, because you have just incarnated into an earth plane and you haven't learned all this BS of switching from being a spiritual being to being in a survival mode. And like I was talking about earlier with evolution, we never think about evolution over here. We think about it over here with Darwin, right? Like I've heard, like, we're not going to have pinkies or little toes in the future because we don't really use them, and we'll evolve and we'll move. But we never think of evolution over here. Whereas you talk about in the Trinity, it's like, it starts with, look at this. It starts with spirit, right? Soul, and then body. So they are in the physical, and they do deal with evolution. But we never actually think of that. So when you're in the fifth dimension, like, and you're looking down and you can see what Stephen Costa is going through as a master, guide, or angel, and go, man, you just got to do X, Y, and Z, Stephen. You know, you can get there, but in the fifth dimension, our role isn't to tell you exactly what you need to do. It's to ask questions so you can see from your own perspective. And so the light goes on in your head and you get it. Because I can be as persuasive as I want to in the 3D and preach the hell out of this stuff, but until the light goes on in your head and you hit that pure shot, will you understand and feel it? That's why wise beings don't tell you, know what you need to do is go to school, get a job, and blah, 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 and you'll be fine. They ask you, is that the right path? You think that's a good choice? How do you feel about that? They don't need to push it on you because they already know they're all good. Number 3 is will. This is the energy, the force, the strength to put together the wisdom and the love. helps us understand because, like I said, you have the love, wisdom, will. This holds it together. And these two help you understand. It's crazy because at the fifth dimension, like I said, if you're looking down that Sega game, it's holographic. You can see on the video game everything you're capable of, right? But we're in the 3D and it's right on top of us. We're like messed up from whatever culture, biology, you know, getting stuck in survival mode. And we're not understanding, like, you know, we're living through our emotions and not getting that when we're up here on the fifth, looking down, that we're capable of anything. It's an interesting concept. But it's funny, like, sometimes you'll hear that voice in the back of your head and be like, no, you can do this. You can conquer that goal. I believe in you. And that's just coming up from the higher dimension, letting you know that I've seen it. And I don't understand what it feels like. I need to see you do it so I can feel it, because I'm only at unconditional love and I want to go, I've created this. We're co-creators now. How does it actually let me grow through you and vice versa? Beautiful thing. So the will holds it together. Strength, force, love, and wisdom. To get the self, the expression, to experience and integrate and transcend. All right, number 4 is evolution. And love plus wisdom plus will equal evolution. And like I was talking about earlier, we thought about spirit and, you know, biological human being, and there's no difference. Evolution is the same. It's just moving forward and growing and understanding. Evolution is really the path towards self. Understanding what it can become. What it's capable of. Right, that's an interesting definition of evolution, right? It's a path towards self, understanding what we can become. Because the universe doesn't give a shit about materialistic possessions and matter. It's not like, damn, did you get that awesome house? Did you get to travel the whole globe and go over to the Bahamas and the Mediterranean and the Far East? Did you collect all these ancient artifacts? The universe doesn't care about that. It's the only thing it wants to know is the process. Did you understand? Because if you didn't understand, it's going to be really hard for you to get to the 5th dimension with all these judgments, living out of unconditional love, knowing that there's not good and bad, there's just the process. So we'll get to number 5 here, is co-creation.